the bodies burning as the war machine keeps turning. Death and hate.
Hello and welcome to another My Vinyl and Music Collection. And this week we're going to delve into the world of hard rock. And we're going to start off with probably one of the most famous hard rock albums to be released. And that would have been Black Sabbath, Paranoid. In 2017, the Rolling Stone magazine voted this #1 heaviest album and most influential album for the genre of heavy metal. This album was released in 1970 and it was Black Sabbath's second album. The first album was called just Black Sabbath, and that's a great album too. But I thought we'd start off with Paranoid, and what a fantastic lineup this band was. Ozzy Osbourne, a younger Ozzy Osbourne with a fantastic rock vocal. You had the great Tony Iommi on lead guitar. You had Geezer Butler on bass, and you had Bill Ward on drums, and probably one of the heaviest bands that you will ever come across. They are doing their final concert this year in the Midlands, Birmingham area, where Black Sabbath were created amongst and in around the industrial area. Again, this is a brilliant album. As you can see, it's on the NEMS label, and you know me, I love my gatefold sleeves. And inside we've got the picture of the band, and then we've got the lineup, and we've got the songs, and I think nearly every one of them is a classic. We start off with War Pigs, which is a great heavy riffed song, and I think that was about the Vietnamese War. Paranoid, got to be the greatest hard rock doom-laden song that anyone could come across. It's a great song, brilliant lyrics, brilliantly sung, and fantastically played. Third song would have been Planet Caravan. One of my favourite songs, and again, is Iron Man, another heavy doom-laden bass. Second side, not so much the famous songs compared to side A. So you got Electric Funeral, which is pretty famous, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, and it finishes off with Fairies Wear Boots. Now, to my American or Canadian and Australian followers, the song was about fashion and a genre in the late 60s and the early 70s in Great Britain, and they were skinheads, and they were known for their heavy boots, their Doc Martin boots. So that song is actually about, Fairies Wear Boots is actually about skinheads, and because Black Sabbath were a long-haired hard rock band, they didn't go down too well with that fraternity. Originally, Black Sabbath were known as Earth, and they were a bit of a blues band. But anyway, that's my first album, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. I suppose one of the greatest hard rock bands to come out of the UK would have been Led Zeppelin. And I've got a few Led Zeppelin albums, but I think I'll start with Led Zeppelin 4. Again, an iconic album. What a great lineup again. Robert Plant. Album always produced by Jimmy Page. You had John Paul Jones on bass guitar and keyboards. And you had the fantastic John Bonham on drums. Unfortunately, we lost John Bonham, I think in 1980, and basically Zeppelin never existed after that. I think they did one reunion gig in London, and that was about it. So this is Led Zeppelin 4. As I said, there is nothing on the front to say who the band are. There's the iconic picture of the old man with the sticks on his back. Again, a gatefold sleeve. Again, it's quite mystical. And then inside, we will have another write-up on the band itself. So we've actually got the most famous music guitar shop song that the joke is that it's banned from all guitar shops, and that would have been Stairway to Heaven. Although Stairway to Heaven is a slow burning ballad, there are some big songs in here, big songs, and there's the heavily laden riff on Black Dog, which runs through it all the time, and that is an all-time classic. Rock and Roll, another great song, very heavy with that 12-bar blues going on, and a great song. Comes down a little bit now, and we've got the Battle of Evermore. And the Battle of Evermore features the only time ever that Led Zeppelin had anyone sing on their albums with them, and it was the great British folk singer called Sandy Denny, and she is the lady singer on the Battle of Evermore. The B-side is Misty Mountain Hop, great song. I would say it's a little bit Americana, maybe a little bit country. Then you've got the song Four Sticks, one of my favourite all-time songs, and it's called Going to California, and it's Jimmy Page experimenting with open tunings. It wasn't actually Dadgad, his famous one, it was a drop D tuning, and it's again, it's another slow burning, heavily riffed but slow riff song, and that is one of my favourite songs, Going to California. And the last song is When the Levee Breaks. Brilliant album, and that's why I've started with Led Zeppelin 4. I could have gone for Led Zeppelin 1, but this is when they were really into, the fourth album. Jimmy Page produced it. It really is a great classy hard rock album, and that is Led Zeppelin 4. Brilliant, all-time great. Right, we are going over to Canada, and we're going to go with Rush. Now, I'm a big fan of Rush. They've crossed quite a few different genres. People have put them in the prog rock. Some have put them into heavy metal. But I certainly say they're a hard rock band with a great Geddy Lee on bass guitar and his vocals, and that really high-pitched vocals. You had Neil Peart, and it's just a brilliant album. And this was one of the first times I'd ever heard of Rush. I picked it up in a market somewhere in about 1981, and there's a couple of hit songs in here. There was 2 songs which were hits in the UK during the time of the heavy metal years of about 81, and the songs would have been Tom Sawyer, which was played quite heavily on the Radio 1 pop and rock stations. Red Bargetta, another great song. XYZ, another brilliant song. One of my favourites on here is Limelight. The album's called Moving Pictures, sorry. It's called Moving Pictures. And again, it's not one of their most iconic albums. It's quite a popular album. And the B-side is The Camera Ray, Witch Hunt, and Vital Signs. It's on the Mercury label, and it was produced by Terry Brown. And I do like a bit of Rush, so I'm going to put them in the hard rock genre for this one. We're going to go up to Scotland now, and the sensational Alex Harvey Band. And these were pretty wild Scottish rockers, definitely hard. This album is not just hard rock, it's very innovative. Alex Harvey was a great singer. His brother was tragically killed in my city of Swansea in a gig, and I think they were called Blackfoot Sioux, and he got electrocuted in a gig in Swansea, and that's quite sad. But this is a great album, the sensational Alex Harvey Band. Here's the back of it, and the personnel would have been Hugh McKenna, he'd have been piano. Chris Glenn, we've come across Chris Glenn, and he was with the Michael Schenker group. Alex Harvey himself, Ted McKenna, and the famous and the weird Zal Clemson, and he was a really great guitar player. This is a really great album, and the tracks on here would have been Swamp Snake, Gang Bang, The Faith Healer, Giddy Up a Ding Dong, and my favourite song, when I can remember watching the Old Grey Whistle Test, I couldn't have been more than about 12, 13, and the song was called Next. Oh gosh, that, if you haven't heard this Alex Harvey singing Next, seriously get on YouTube. It is pure theatre. The 6 songs, Vambo, Maral's Eye, and track 7 is The Last of the Teenage Idols. This is a brilliant album, and it's on the Vertigo label. If you get a chance, dig this one out. It's quite popular, and there are plenty of these vinyls about. The Alex Harvey Band, all the way from Bonnie, Scotland. Right, a band which came out during the heavy metal years was a southern rock band, and they were called Blackfoot, and they were a great band. They weren't metal, they were southern rock, but they did climb into the hard rock scene. And Richie Medlock was a great guitar player, and he's had a spell recently with Lynyrd Skynyrd, and he's quite an immense frontman. Absolutely a great guitar player and a great singer. And this album has actually got Richie Medlock's granddad playing blues harmonica on it, and I'll read out some of the tracks in this for you now. So we've got Warped, which is a great heavy song. On the Run, another great number. Dream On, Street Fighter. Side fifth song, Gimme Gimme. Side 2, Every Man Should Know. Every Man Should Know Queenie, sorry. In the Night, Reckless Abandonment, Spending Garbage, and the bluesy number with Ricky Medlock's granddaddy was called Fox Chase. Great album. As I said, they came out during the metal years. They're a southern rock band from the deep south of America. I love this album. It's great. It's a good hard rock with a touch of southern in it as well. Brilliant. Blackfoot's Tom Cattin. Let's cross the Irish Sea from Great Britain to one of my favourite bands, Thin Lizzy. This is called Chinatown, and yeah, back in the day, Thin Lizzy were one of the greatest hard rock bands to cut their teeth in Ireland and of course the UK. You had they were a three-piece band originally with Eric Bell and Colin Downs and Phil Lynott. This album consisted of more of a five-piece band with a twin guitar of Scott Gorham. I'm not sure because if Gary Moore was on this one. We'll have a little look now. It's a fabulous little album. Again, it's a four-piece band and not a five-piece band. And if I can remember who's who on here, we got Scott Gorham, we got Phil Lynott, we got Colin Downs, and that looks like Snowy White. I'm not too sure. Let's have a little look in here now. It's Brian Downey on drums, Scott Gorham on lead guitar, Phil Lynott on bass guitar. Yes, it is Snowy White. So I did get that right. Thin Lizzy's Chinatown. This came out in the early 80s. So they had many great albums before this, but this was a good hard rock album, and the songs on it would have been We Will Be Strong, the title album, Chinatown, Sweetheart, Sugar Blues, Killer on the Loose, Side 2, Having a Good Time, Genocide, Didn't I, and Hey You. This was quite popular with the heavy metal fraternity as well, but to me this is a hard rock album. Thin Lizzy's Chinatown, and yes, we've lost Phil Lynott as well, which was a great shame. Okay, AC/DC. They were one of the greatest, and still are one of the greatest heavy metal bands. But before heavy metal, they were known as a hard rock band, and this was released in 1976. Dirty Deeds Done Cheap, and it would have featured Bon Scott on vocals, Angus Young, Malcolm Young, and this was an album which probably paved the way for a lot of what AC/DC were going to do, and there's some great songs on here. Obviously the first one, Dirty Deeds Done Cheap, that's a great song. It's obviously the title track. Love at First Feel, Big Balls, Rocker, Problem Child, which I know they still do. There's gonna be some rocking, Ain't No Fun Waiting Around to Be a Millionaire, Ride On, and The Squealer. Great album, great album. And we've got a little inner to it. So we've got a song lyric sheet, some great pictures. They were a pretty wide bunch they were, and Bon Scott was the wildest of them all. He burnt heavily, didn't he? And he died the rock and roll lifestyle. But this is one of my favourite AC/DC pre-metal albums, and highly recommend this one. Dirty Deeds Done Cheap. Okay, let's go back down the Southern Rock. We have mentioned ZZ Top, and one of their early albums, I believe, was heavily blues influenced. I think this one is more rock influenced, and it's a bit later. It's early 70s, but it's got an edge to it. It's got a hard rock edge to it, and I am a massive ZZ Top fan, and I play them so much, and it's on the London label, and these guys, Texas Favorite Sons, and the tracks on here would be side 1, The Warehouse, New Orleans, Captured As It Came Down, Thunderbird, Jailhouse Rock, Backdoor Medley, which would have consisted of Backdoor Love Affair, Mellow Down Easy, Backdoor Love, Long Distance Boogie. Side 2 would have been Nasty Dogs and Funky Kings, Blue Jean Blues, which is one of the most famous songs as well, and that's played quite often. Bolognese, Mexican Blackbird, Heard It on the X, which is a great song, and the all-time classic is on here, and again it's heavily riffed, and that's Tush. Tush is one of the greatest songs written, and it's influenced so many rockers, and I do love that album, and that's called Fandango. Here's the back of the album, and that had been Billy Gibbons, Dusty Hill, and Frank Beard. Great album, and that's a good hard rocker. Okay, we mentioned Whitesnake before, and we did class them as heavy metal. But as I said in one of the episodes, they cross quite a few genres: heavy metal, rock, blues, but definitely a hard rock band. Now this album is a bit of a compilation album, and I think it was released in 1987, and again it's got some great tracks on it. And I'm a massive fan of Whitesnake, more for the vocals of David Coverdale and the guitar work of Bernie Marsden and Mickey Moody. And the tracks on here would be Crying in the Rain, Bad Boys, Still of the Night, which is a great song. Here I Go Again, that is the classic, isn't it, which we've talked about before. Give Me All Your Love, another great number. Is This Love? Again, that's that burning, slow, ballady song. Children of the Night, Straight for the Heart, and Don't Turn Away. And we'd have had on this album, we'd have had David Coverdale on vocals. We'd have had John Sykes, who's recently, only in the last few weeks, has passed away. John Sykes was a great guitar player, and sadly we've lost him. We had Neil Murray on bass, and I've seen Neil Murray. He was actually Peter Green's first bass player with a band called the Splinter Group, and very quiet, introverted chap, Neil Murray. And Ainsley Dunsbar was on drums, but Ainsley Dunbar was John Mayall's drummer back in the 60s. So this is a great little album, very classy album, some great rockers on it, and not a lot as a gatefold, as an inner. We've got the lyrics, and not a lot more there. But yes, Whitesnake, definitely we can class as hard rock, and that is a great album with a great bunch of songs on it. I'm going to finish off with the good old British hard rock band Status Quo on the Level. Now, Status Quo were known as a hard rock band. They did soften up, and they did produce and sing quite a few pop songs in the end, you know. But back in the early 70s, these were hard rockers, and we had Alan Lancaster, we had John Coughlin, we had Rick Parfitt, and we had you know what, we've had some great writers on here: Francis Rossi, Rick Parfitt, John Coughlin, and Alan Lancaster. Sorry, my mind went a bit then, but again, great gatefold sleeve. And the tracks in here would have been Little Lady, Most of You, I Saw the Light, Over and Done, Night Ride. They are famous, one of their most famous songs, Down Down, starts side 2, Broken Man, What to Do, Where Am I, and Bye Bye Johnny. Status Quo. It's sad that we've lost 2 of them. We've lost Rick Parfitt and we've lost Alan Lancaster. John Coughlin went on to create a band called Diesel. John Coughlin and Alan Lancaster both left because they felt the band were moving away from their hard rock grounding, and but this was the iconic lineup. A great album. I've got a couple more Status Quo albums, the early ones, and we'll be mentioning them in a little bit more time down the road. Anyway, see you next week for episode 7, and we're going to have a little look at a bit of Celtic folk. Anyway, take care guys, see you soon.